Welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here today, because we're about to look at something that completely flipped how we understand our place in the universe. We're going to unpack this centuries-old, unquestioned assumption about how our planetary system actually works. For thousands of years, the brightest minds in human history, we're talking Aristotle, Ptolemy, they look up at the night sky and make this one massive, seemingly logical assumption about the paths of the planets. And honestly, it wasn't just a tiny scientific slip-up. It was deeply philosophical. Almost religious, really. And it totally held human progress back for millennia. But as we're going to see today, their most deeply held belief was literally completely backwards. Section 1. The Perfect Circle Myth. A centuries-old assumption shattered. Okay, let's dive into this. To really get the magnitude of this shattered myth, we got to put ourselves in the shoes of those early astronomers. When they looked up, they didn't have high-powered space telescopes, right? No satellites, no modern physics. They basically just had their eyes, some math, and a whole lot of philosophy. And for centuries, these early stargazers operated under one foundational belief that brings us to a huge question. Are planetary orbits perfect circles? Think back to the solar system models you probably saw in a classroom, or those diagrams in old textbooks. We're kind of programmed to visualize a planet traveling in this neat, symmetrical, flawless ring around the sun. I mean, it makes total sense to our brains, doesn't it? We human beings absolutely love symmetry. We love perfection, we want our living rooms perfectly aligned, and we definitely wanted our universe perfectly aligned too. Even when the reality of the cosmos is, well, gloriously messy.
Historically, we were completely trapped by what you could call the divine assumption. See, early astronomers assumed planets moved in perfect circles just because circles seemed, well, mathematically divine. A circle is flawless. No beginning, no end, no weird variations. So naturally, they figured the heavens above must reflect this ultimate, untouchable perfection. But contrasting that comforting idea was the harsh, observed reality. Just imagine the sheer historical drama unfolding in ancient observatories when the mathematical data just wouldn't fit. The actual observed tracking of planetary movement blew that divine assumption completely out of the water. Mars, for instance, was drifting in the sky in ways a circle just couldn't explain. The real shape of a planet's orbit isn't a perfect circle at all, it's an ellipse. And this wasn't just some minor technical correction. It shattered their entire philosophical view of the heavens. It was this massive paradigm shift proving that the universe really doesn't care about our human definitions of perfection.
Section 2. The Law of Ellipses. Kepler's mathematical breakthrough.
So who finally solved this enduring orbital mystery? It took Johannes Kepler. He was a brilliant mathematician who basically inherited mountains of ultra-precise observational data, and he spent years crunching unimaginable volumes of numbers completely by hand. To finally make the math work, he had to ditch that stubborn, comforting assumption of the perfect circle and just trust the data to reveal the scientific truth. His eureka moment is what we now know as Kepler's first law, and I want to give this the academic weight it deserves. The law states that planets orbit the sun in an ellipse, not a circle, with the sun located at one of the two focus points. Just take a second to really let that sink in. It completely rewrites the map of the solar system. The path isn't a perfect ring, and the anchor point is not dead center.
Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how it fundamentally changes the geometry. Think of a perfect circle. It has one single anchor point, dead in the center. Because of that, the outer edge is always a constant, equal distance from that center, no matter where you are on the line. But an ellipse operates on a completely different set of rules. It is essentially a stretched circle. Imagine grabbing the edges of a metal ring and just pulling them apart. As it stretches, that single neat center point actually splits into two separate anchors, which we call focus points. And because the shape is elongated now, the distance from the outer edge to those inner anchor points is constantly varying. It's a beautifully simple geometric shift, but man, it carries some massive cosmic implications.
Which brings us to this absolutely crucial realization. The sun is not in the middle, because an ellipse has two of those off-center focus points, and our massive sun sits at just one of them. The other focus point is, well, it's basically just empty space. Imagine you're riding on a planet along this stretched-out track. Because the sun is way off to one side, as you travel along your orbit, you are physically getting closer and closer to this massive burning star at certain points, and then whipping around it, only to travel much farther away into the colder depths of space on the other side of the track. You are definitely not on a calm, perfectly centered carousel ride.
Section 3. Earth and the Comets. Real-world orbital extremes. Okay, it's one thing to talk about geometric shapes in theory. But to really grasp this, we need to see how these stretched-out paths act in the wild depths of space. There's honestly no better demonstration of Kepler's first law pushed to the absolute extreme than comets. Comets have these highly stretched elliptical orbits. Think of a path shaped almost like a long cigar. Just think about how dramatic their journey is. Because of that extreme stretch, they swing incredibly close to the intense burning heat of the sun at one point on their path, sometimes literally boiling off material to create those iconic glowing tails. And then, following the curve of that elongated ellipse, they slingshot way, way out into the dark, freezing, lonely reaches of deep space at the other end. Because the track is so stretched out, sometimes it takes centuries, like with Halley's Comet, just to make a single return trip.
But hey, we don't just have to look at deep space comets. We can bring this cosmic scale right back home to our own planet. Earth's orbit is nearly circular, sure, but it is absolutely still slightly elliptical, just a tiny bit stretched. Now, quick side note, because it's a very common misconception that this elliptical stretch is what causes our seasons. Let's be perfectly clear, our seasons are primarily driven by Earth's axial tilt. However, because the sun is at one of those off-center focus points, our varying distance from the sun does subtly modulate those seasons, making certain parts of the year just a tiny bit more intense. It's a gentle reminder that we aren't moving in a perfect circle, and we're subject to the exact same cosmic laws as those extreme comets. Let's actually put a hard number on our own planetary variation. Because our orbit is an ellipse, Earth is actually about 5 million kilometers closer to the sun in early January than it is in early July. 5 million kilometers. To put that jaw-dropping number into perspective, that's roughly 13 times the distance from the Earth to the Moon. You could line up nearly 400 Earths in a row just to fill that gap. That is how much our distance varies simply because our planetary path is stretched into an ellipse instead of a perfect circle. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer, unimaginable scale of our solar system. Because while 5 million kilometers sounds like this massive, dramatic shift, it's basically a cosmic rounding error compared to our average distance from the sun, which is roughly 150 million kilometers. Yep, that 5 million kilometer shift is just a tiny, tiny fraction of our overall journey. Yet, it completely proves that even on a massive scale, with only a slight orbital stretch, the mechanics of our solar system flawlessly obey Kepler's first law.
Section 4. The next cosmic mystery, beyond the shape of the orbit.
We've established the geometry, we've broken the centuries-old myth, and we know the true shape of the path. But as you probably know, solving one massive mystery in science almost always opens the door to another. Before we move on to what comes next, let's cement the new mental model we've built today. So the crucial point is, first, planetary orbits are absolutely not perfect circles. We can throw that divine assumption entirely out the window. Second, planets move in stretched ellipses. Third, the sun doesn't sit neatly in the middle, it anchors the system at an off-center focus point. And fourth, because of that off-center anchor, a planet's distance from the sun is constantly changing as it travels through the void of space. That is Kepler's first law in a nutshell.
Kepler's first law tells us the precise shape of the orbit, but this leaves us with one massive lingering question. If the distance from the sun is constantly changing, getting closer and closer, and then swinging much farther away, does a planet move at the exact same speed throughout its entire path? Or does that speed change as it gets pulled closer to the sun's gravity? Well, that is Kepler's second law, and it's exactly what we're going to uncover next time. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep wondering, and I'll see you on the next one.